one voice. We will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight. We're going to live on. We're going to survive. Today, we celebrate our Independence Day.
It's not true. It doesn't matter what's true. It matters the story they tell when you're gone.
I keep on pushing down my gypsy road.
All right, let me get rid of that screen. Man, we got an awesome full house tonight, people. We got Rob, we got Texas, we got Connor, we got Dr. Wu. I mean, it's a full house. This is awesome. I mean, I feel the energy. I got my coffee, and I'm ready, man. I'm just ready to kick it. And we got a lot of wonderful people already in the chat. I see Danny Staten, We Nightmare, Sandra Piper, Amber's Paraworld. Amber, I am working on your mermaid pictures. I apologize for that. I'll get that done. I promise. And then, man, how's everybody going, man? Rob, you're a busy man. Last night, I went back to Space Out Radio. Boom, out of nowhere, Rob was on there. I'm like, was Rob on the schedule? Wow, shit.
No,
Rob's everywhere.
You know, we try to be everywhere. And, you know, I got a call last night from Dave Scott, SOR. And, hey, you want to come on to the Bigfoot report? I said, hell yeah, I'll come on and do it. Of course, everyone knows I was sleeping. He woke me up, so I was groggy and I didn't sound all energetic, right? But man, once I got on that show, I woke up and, you know, it was funny because I prepared like 3 research reports. He said, Rob, you got 17 minutes. So I was telling Tex, hey man, I'm going on a SOR tonight. He's like, cool, man, congratulations. And so I'm like, thanks. And I said, man, I'm worried. I got to come up with some material, man. My first report went 12 minutes and I had other ones prepared. He goes, hey, Rob, you got 5 minutes and 12 seconds. I'm like, hell, my next story is going to be another 11 minutes. I said, Dave, man, I need an hour segment. And he starts laughing. So it was a good time. So I had some other encounter stories, or I had some other happenings here in the state of Michigan that I was able to incorporate. So it worked out well. I was excited. It was a good showing. People loved it. Dave loved it. He called me this morning. He said, man, you kicked ass. And it was cool. And as you said, man, we do work every day. Tex works a 50-hour job. You know, we're looking to expand our show. You'll probably see our faces 5 days a week too. So we're excited. We love it. We love what we do. And I'm happy to be on your show, man, with you, Dr. Wu, Connor, my buddy Tex, and all the lovelies out there in chat. Thanks a lot, brother.
No, thank you guys. It's always fun having new people on here and just like learning about each other. I mean, it's just fantastic. But you know, let's get into this thing right now. Let's get into this. Now, Connor, let's pretend everybody in the chat doesn't know anything about Bigfoots. We're gonna pretend. We're gonna go back to the beginning. Now, everybody basically knows what a Bigfoot, Sasquatch kind of is, you know. But when you hear the word Dogman, because Connor, you go on a lot of shows, you heard different stories, different theories, and all that. Of all the theories and stories, in a simple term, basically, what is the difference between a Dogman and a Bigfoot? Or is there a difference? Or are there no differences? And then we'll all pitch in what a Dogman is.
Yes, that's an awesome question. And I'm sure in the heat of the moment, in the dark of the moon, when that thing is growling at you or trying to get you out of the forest, your mind might think it's one or the other. But there are snouted Bigfoot that are called Gugwe, but Dogmen creatures are like werewolves. But then there's a lot of different variants of them, like demon dogs that are just canines that are, super powered and mutant. But then there's also these lycanthropes, these rougarous that are upright, man-like dog creatures. The Sasquatch call them wolf people. Habe is the word for wolf. So there's also a lot of terms in American tribes, and also over in Australia, there's tons of Dogman legends. But in America, where the Mecca started, is Rob lives, the Upper Peninsula, Michigan. And I'm right in Ohio, where I started, and Denison is really famous for that, and Toledo, the Big Bend area. So I think there's a lot of cool takes on the natural ones, the cursed ones, and then maybe the government making these chimera creatures. We heard it with Marco Polo, King Arthur, Adolf Hitler, and lots of other things in historical legend. But then you look at Anubis as well with the animal head and then other petroglyphs. So this goes back long before modern Dogman things. But werewolves, rougarous, demon dogs, however you want to call it, it is real, and it is a little bit different than Sasquatch. But I definitely believe that they're out there.
You said something interesting, because when I researched Dogman, most of the stories of the Dogman has the word Michigan in it. Like so, Rob, is like the Michigan typically the Dogman capital of the United States, or is it just that's where the reports come from?
Well, I was on Vic Cundiff's show. I did a drop with him, and we were talking about a Bigfoot encounter I had, but then it kind of ventured into a little Dogman segment. In Wexford County, in the state of Michigan, is the capital in Michigan, at any rate, for Dogman. There's been more sightings in Wexford County of Dogman than Bigfoot. Now, of course, you have to determine if these reports are misidentifications as well, because you get way more Bigfoot sightings than Dogman. But yeah, legend has it that Dogman started where I live, about 150 miles north of me, and kind of ventured outwards. So, as far as I'm concerned, it started here. We have them here. We got all sorts of crazy stuff in the state of Michigan, just like in Ohio, Connor. And Pennsylvania. And when you get to Texas, he's got a doozy for you too. And in Texas, they're all over. Not as predominant, I don't think, as Sasquatch, but they are there. And some of the stories that you hear are more creepier than Sasquatch. And someone else. The
question I always have, Rob, say, Rob, let's just, like I said, I'm playing like I don't know anything, guys. It's funner this way. So if I go into the woods, how would I technically kind of know the difference? If I see this creature in front of me, the first thing in my mind, I'm probably just going to think Sasquatch or Bigfoot. So is there like are they like more looking like a werewolf you see in the movies, or what's the main difference look between a Sasquatch and a Dogman?
Well, Tex could probably answer the question better than I, but from what I've heard, they look more like, as you said, a bipedal with a canine or wolf-like head. That's the opinion I've gotten. I've never seen one. Of course, I've done research on it via the internet. I've never been boots on the ground looking for a Dogman, but I think Tex could probably extrapolate that a little better than I could.
So what do you think, Tex?
Well, how y'all doing, man? I didn't want to jump in there and interrupt, man. Y'all were rolling.
Hey, that's what we do. I always text. I would like to make sure, because there's a lot of new people that come in from the paranormal side and all that.
Right.
And they haven't really heard. They know Bigfoot, but when you hear Dogman, they don't know what the really difference is between a Dogman and a Bigfoot. Because
me too. I had to look it up. I had to research it. That's why you guys are fantastic. We're gonna finally dispel it and get people to figure out. Look, the difference between the two is, and you guys are gonna help out with that.
Well,
and we know it's all theory too. We know we don't know 100%, but the stories you heard and seen is better than nothing.
And I will say one thing before Tex gets started here. I did a search on YouTube, a Google search, and if you type in Dogman, you get about this much information. And if you typed Sasquatch, Bigfoot, you get,
yes,
mounds and mounds. Dogman, you still don't
100%.
find information. So for me, like Tex does, boots on the ground, looking for these things, that's where it's at. So Tex, go ahead, buddy.
Well, for those of you that don't know, and if you want to, we can get into my encounter. But my first encounter with a cryptid was when I was 16, and it was a Dogman. And he was 25 feet away from me in broad daylight. And so is there a difference? Oh, yeah. You're going to know the difference? Oh, yeah. If you get close enough to see him, you're going to know the difference, because there is no doubt in my mind what I saw. Now, don't get me wrong. For a long time, I questioned my own sanity, but the things that you hear about, and you hear different descriptions, and I've got a theory on that, and I've got a theory on their origins and everything. But it's like you said, it's just a theory. We're all speculating. We don't know. We can't even say what these creatures aren't. So we damn sure can't say what they are. I mean, that's the bottom line. But being that close to one, the thing was massive. It was about 7.5 feet tall, and it wasn't built like a Bigfoot. It was more of an athletic build, but it was massive. It had a massive chest on it, deep, narrow-hipped, huge thighs, but it didn't have the backwards turning legs that I don't think it did. I don't think it had the true hawk. You know what I'm saying? It was up on its toes, and its feet were long, but it was up on its toes. And I think maybe a lot of people see that and they say, "Oh, well, that was the backward turning leg." I don't think that was, but that's just my opinion. Now, it did have human-like hands and arms, but when it came to the head, it had a massive head. It wasn't out of proportion. A lot of reports you hear, the head, one of the first things they say is the head looked almost out of proportion for the body. It was too big for the body. The one I saw wasn't. I didn't think so, but it was definitely canine in nature. It wasn't the long, narrow, sharp wolf snout. It was a little shorter, and it was a blunt snout. Now, when a lot of people see anything that is not supposed to exist, a lot of times what they'll do is they'll look to Hollywood to try to find something that they can wrap their mind around that, looks close to what they saw. And the one that I saw that looks the most like what I encountered was the American Werewolf in London.
Oh, yeah.
And it had a huge, what I thought was a mane at the time. But after researching and everything, I found out that these things have a hump in the middle of their shoulders, basically. It's like a Bramer or a grizzly. And that makes the appearance of a mane. But the hair was longer, going off the back of its head down its back like in a V. Now, and its ears were pinned back. Now, you'll see a horse or a dog, when they get upset, they'll pin them over ears back. Same thing. A lot of people say, "Oh, it had red eyes, it had yellow eyes." A lot of that's eye shine that people catch. And what a lot of people don't understand about eye shine is it changes color. And it changes color with the direction you're getting the light source from. It changes color with the type of light that you're shining on the varmint. If you don't believe me, if you got a dog, let him go outside. Turn your porch light on, see what kind of eye shine you get when he turns his head. Turn the porch light off, grab you a flashlight. If you've got an old school flashlight, use that. If you've got and then you've got an LED, then use that. See the changes you get. So when a lot of people talk about this color eye shine, that color eye shine, doesn't mean this thing had red or yellow glowing eyes. Now, I think a lot of people, you were talking about misidentification. Yep, there he is.
That's the one from American Werewolf in London.
Yeah.
You see that kind of short, broader snout
Yeah.
that he's got? That's what mine had. And you can see where he almost looked like he's got a mane coming off the back of his head and down his shoulders. And the hair's longer there, and it's shorter on his arms and stuff. Man, that was what I saw. And I saw this before this movie came out. I saw this before the term Dogman was even coined. The only thing I knew to call it was a werewolf. So, but the eyes, the one I saw, the eyes were brown, just like a normal dog's eyes. It didn't have a mouthful of freaking teeth like a lot of people talk about. They didn't have room for it. It was just, large canine teeth. One of the things that really stood out was there's an old wives' tale about picking out a dog. When a smart dog, look for one with black in his mouth or on his tongue. The thing that I saw had a black mottled mouth and tongue, which to me points more toward animal than it does human. But because there's an image that's froze in my mind. He ran across the road. He busted out of the brush on my left. I was on a white gravel road. The sun hadn't quite went down yet, so there was plenty of light. He busted out of the brush on my left, ran across the road, and dove over our fence that bordered our place. And when he dove over the fence, he was on two legs when he ran across from me, dove over the fence, pretty much just melted down to on all fours. Real smooth transition. I didn't hear the bones and the sinews snapping like a lot of people talk about. But I still get a little hinky when I talk about this. It's a long time ago, guys, but it sticks with you. But when he was in just about even with me in the road, he turned his head and he growled at me. And that's nice. We got dogs in the background going on. How fitting. But I didn't get that sense of dread, that death sense that a lot of people talk about. They've even coined a term for it called dogman sickness. I didn't get that. Don't get me wrong. I was spooked. It was an underwear changing moment for sure. But I didn't get that. I was scared for my life because this thing was just so massive and it wasn't supposed to exist. Okay. And it was scary looking. But after the fact, years after the fact, going over and analyzing what I felt, I don't think I really feared for my life. I was just scared. So,
were you able to tell anybody about it for a while? Or I know a lot of people came on our channel, told us it was like 10, 20 years later until they could even talk about it. It actually affected them their whole life. Like Jeff Harding's told us it affected him in his whole life. A lot of Danny was on our channel, told us how, they didn't want to go back in the woods sometimes, go hunting anymore.
And see, that's just it. That's where I grew up, and that's what I grew up doing. Hunting, trapping, fishing, camping. From about the age of 12, I was going out for a couple of days by myself. It's just how it was. And I was coming back from a hunting trip when I saw him. He jumped over, or like I said, he jumped over our fence, 5-strand barbed wire fence, about 5 feet high. He dove over that fence and went down in the love grass, what we call love grass down here, and it grows to about 4 feet high. He went down in that grass, and I saw the grass move for about 10, 15 yards and then nothing. Well, I made a snap decision. I'm not following him because I was fixing to jump over the fence and make a beeline to the house.
Wow.
So I made a snap decision. I am not going to follow him in the tall grass. I got lucky the first time, So I had to go up the road, take a right, and then go across the end of our place and go down our driveway. And we lived on 20 acres, so it was a pretty good jaunt. When I got home, the walk is pretty much a blur. but I remember one part of it, and I remember where it took place. I went up to the end of the road. I turned and went right, and I thought, well, because I didn't have any shells for my shotgun, I was out of ammo. And I thought to myself, well, if nothing else, I've got a 3-foot club with me. Maybe I'll get a swing at him if he tries at me. The rest of it is just kind of a blur. I get home, I walk in the back door. My mama had a rule, no guns in the kitchen. And I walked in, I pretty much collapsed into a kitchen chair and laid my gun on the table, on the kitchen table. She was in the kitchen, washing dishes, cooking. I don't remember what she did. She turned around. I guess she's going to scold me. She looked at me. She said, "Oh, my God, what's wrong with you? You look like you've seen a ghost." And thank you, Gypsy. And I tried to tell her what had happened, and I couldn't. I couldn't speak. Looking back on it, I was in a state of shock. My sister lived about 50 yards away from us on the same property. She called my sister. My sister came over, and it took them almost an hour to calm me down enough where I could talk, tell them what had happened. Of course, they tried to rationalize it, tell me I saw a big dog, I saw a wolf, I saw maybe a guy, a homeless guy or whatever. But I stuck to my guns for years and years and years. I only told the family. And finally, they're like, "Well, we know you ain't lying. You saw something. We don't know what you saw, but you saw something." But you talk about people not wanting to go back in the woods when they have an encounter like this. I didn't want anything to do with going anywhere. If I had to go to the barn, I went armed. That's just how it was. For about 6 months, it was like that. And from the point where I learned to fight and take care of myself, I could not stand bullies. And that's what it felt like to me. I felt like I was being bullied. I felt like this thing was keeping me from doing what I love to do. And I got so dadgum mad, I just thought, I ain't going to take this no more. If he wanted to kill me, he had the chance. So I started going out a little bit at a time. I finally got going back to like I was. I was going back to my favorite hunting spot. There's a piece of deadfall that had fallen on the barbed wire fence. So I was just going to run up the tree and jump over the fence. Now, this place I hunted, very, very thick. You had to travel the game trails. And it would open up into these little clearings. Some of them you had just enough room to pitch a tent or lay a sleeping bag down. Some of them were a footprint of a small house. And it was a clearing. They would open up in clearings with prairie grass about 12 inches tall. Beautiful place. The hunting and trapping was unbelievable. And it was part of the property owned by this old man that I was friends with. Half of his place he'd turned into a hayfield, and half of it he hadn't touched. And that was the part I hunted. Well, back then and where, out in the country where you grew up, it was a symbiotic relationship, really, because we would be their eyes and ears in spots on their property that these guys didn't go. And if we saw a problem, if we saw a problem that we could fix, we fixed it. And when we told them about it, to find a problem that we couldn't fix by ourselves, we went to them, and odds are we were helping them fix it. So, we benefited. Both sides did. So anyway, I was just about to run up on this log and jump over the fence. And I heard something walking in the trees. And there was a set of twins that I knew that lived on the other side of these woods. And they would hunt the place too. And I knew them real well. Went to school with them. And I said, "Hey," I said, "who is that out there?" And it stopped. And I said, "Hey, Doug, if that's one of y'all, let me know." And it just shifted its weight. I said, "Look," I said, "if you don't say something, I'm going to shoot." And it just shifted its weight again. So I popped a round off up in the air because You know, one thing my daddy always told me, and I still remember it today. If you don't know what you're shooting at, don't pull the trigger because you can't pull that bullet back. You know.
Yeah.
So I shot one off up in the air. All hell broke loose. This thing sounded like a herd of elephants coming through the trees at me. And I'll be honest with you guys, I ain't too proud. Oh, Tex tucked tail and he ran. Okay. He ran 2 miles all the way back to the house, never looked back. If this thing was going to snatch me, I didn't want to know about it. So, but I don't know when he gave up chase. I didn't care. I just know he did. That time, it didn't take me as long to get back into the groove of things because I convinced myself that this thing evidently had been there, and had pretty much left me alone. And if it had wanted to kill me, it had 2 chances, and it didn't do it either one. So
maybe he was making a statement with you, like wasn't planning to kill you, just let you know that I'm here and I ain't going nowhere.
I think that was probably it, especially when I saw him the first time. The feeling I got from him when I started analyzing, what I felt years later. It was more of a back off, leave me alone type thing. You're good there. Let me be on, let me go on my own way and we won't have a problem. But then if you fast forward years and years forward, when I found out that people actually talk about this stuff, and I started talking to other people that research, hear encounters, have encounters, that type of thing. I was talking to a young woman that had her own channel. Unfortunately, it's defunct now, but she asked me, she's kind of helped me start connecting the dots because she started asking me questions like, well, what kind of stuff did reports or talk did you hear around from the community? And he was always hearing, a mare drop a foal and it'd get tore up or go missing. Same thing with a cow dropping a calf. Every once in a while you'd hear that. People talk about, oh, that pack of wild dogs is back, or it's a big cat type thing. We saw tracks, whatever. People had some chickens come up missing, that type of thing. Dog get killed. And about a year before I saw this thing, we had a dog go missing. The only reason we found him was he started stinking. And he was underneath the house. So Daddy's not going to crawl underneath the house, so Tex had to crawl underneath the house and get the dog. And when I pulled him out, we looked at him. No kidding, it looked like somebody held this thing up by his front legs and just gutted him. So I don't think I think he was thrown underneath the house. I don't think he crawled underneath there because we didn't see a blood trail or nothing like that when we was looking for him in the first place. So what I found out years later was, for some reason, we don't know why, when these things kill a dog on property, they have a tendency to throw it under a structure. A Bigfoot, they will, but not so much from what we can gather. They'll throw an animal or a dog that's bothering them against the house or against the building. Dogmen, for some reason, throw them under a structure if they can. I don't know why, but they do. You also hear about them throwing them on top of them too. Of course, Sasquatch, they'll do that. But so they kind of got a couple of behaviors that kind of mirror each other. But I think the biggest difference is they seem to get off on terrorizing people. I'm just scaring the crap out of you. They don't necessarily want to kill you, but they want to mess with you, and they seem to get their jollies out of it. I've heard account after account after account of them tapping on the window, jiggling the door handle,
Or maybe that's their offense. That's the way to say, "Hey, I'm here." That's their offense. But Tex, when you see people like Connor, Matt, I call them the young guns of the community. The uppercomers. You ever? Because I'm listening to your story, I could feel it. I could see that some of that part it was sensitive to you. Are you afraid that some of the young guns might go in these woods and not be fully prepared and might not get lucky like maybe you gotten lucky in a weird way?
And that's one of the things that we try to stress. If you're going to be boots on the ground, if you're going to be looking for these things, you need to prepare yourself mentally, emotionally, as much as you can. Trust me, if you've never ran across anything like this, you're not going to know how you're going to act. A lot of people, these
You don't know.
armchair quarterbacks.
Most people are going to freeze and pee their pants.
Which they have their place. They say, "Oh, I'd have shot it, or I'd have took a picture, or I'd have done this." You don't know what you're going to do. You don't know. It's just like somebody going into combat for the first time. You can have all the training in the world, and I'm a vet. I know you have all the training in the world, but you don't know how you're going to react until you're actually under fire. Now, don't get me wrong, basic training, you were under a live fire one time for the most part. Most people, you're under fire one time going through, a little obstacle course type thing. But
no, you're right, Tex. Bob and I are both military veterans. And one of the things in boot camps and stuff, you go over everything like 100 times.
Yep.
So you're almost like automatic prepared. Now, that's like you said, that's boot camp. That's like doing something 100 times to get you prepared. Right. Going out in the woods, you're not practicing a Bigfoot or a Dogman. Right. So there is no 100 times. So you don't have any kind of a training or backup what you're going to do. It's pure body reaction. Now, like you said, some people have to have training 100 times and they still shit their pants. So, I mean, there's no perfect science on this.
Now, I think my encounter being that young and being lucky enough or blessed enough to be able to deal with it the way I did, to get back up on the horse per se, it helped me a lot doing what I do now, because I'll have these encounters, and I've had a lot. I've had 2 daylight sightings of Bigfoot. I've had them come into camp. I've had them throw rocks at me. I've heard them growl, scream at me, all the kind of stuff. It's helped me deal with it in a calmer, nature. I don't get all excited about it, Hell, when I had my first daylight sighting of a Sasquatch about 50 yards away, I was standing outside my truck, had just got into the area that I'd never been in. A lot of people heard of it. It's notorious, Brown Springs. The old boy I was with, he was getting the gear ready. I was taking in the lay of the land, trying to catch landmarks, that type of thing, because I'd never been there before. And that's number one, man. You got to familiarize yourself with the territory.
Know your surroundings.
You don't want to go out there and get lost. And that's a big mistake a lot of people make. You carry all the GPSs you want in the world, they ain't no sub for a good compass. Sorry, there ain't. Because you don't always get signal. And if the needle starts spinning on you, then you're in trouble.
Well, once you get off the road, all the trees look the same.
Yep.
I mean, it is. Bob, you talked about having a compass with you at all times. I mean, that's your number one tool.
Yeah, I carry 2 of them. I call it 2 of them. And Tex will understand when I say it like this. One of them is an actual compass. It's an actual physical working compass. The other compass is in my head. I keep it in there because you could scavenge a little needle somewhere on your body and do electrical charge to yourself, put it on a fucking leaf in a puddle and watch it go north.
Yep. We're
going to make sure that's north and not south, because it's going to be one single line. But once you know north is north, you can go north, magnetic north. Always remember, it's magnetic north. There's a difference between the other 2.
Well, a lot of people don't realize this, a little life hack for the bald guys out there. If you grow a beard, you got a place to get static electricity off of.
Yeah.
But and you're right, man. I mean, it's you need to learn to have a sense of internal sense of direction.
Yes.
Because if you don't, it is easy to get turned around. But when I had my first Bigfoot sighting out there, I was standing outside my truck. We just parked 8:30 in the morning. I was looking around. I was looking through this little thin tree line into a wheat field. Wheat was about 4 feet tall. And this thing pops up out of the middle of the damn wheat field, looks around like this, and then bolts into the trees down the bottoms. And so I saw him from about the waist up. So he's probably about 8 feet high, 8 feet tall. I saw him from about the waist up till he hit the fire break, and then I saw him head to toe for a couple of steps. And my exact words were, "I'll be damned, there goes one right there." That's it. The old boy, he got mad because he said he had 3. I was the third person that had seen that critter jump out of that wheat field right there in that same spot, and he hadn't been able to see him yet. So, and what was cool about it is we went on down into the bottoms. It's a floodplain right off the Red River. We went on down into the floodplain, and we walked up the floodplain. And we could hear something up on that ridge where that critter had run into. Now, we would hear, footsteps or whatever up there. And then every once in a while, we'd hear some knocks. And then we'd go about another 100 yards, and we'd hear another series of knocks. And I think what he was doing, there was probably a family troop or whatever you want to call it, in front of us, and he was pushing them. No, them idiots they're still coming, y'all. Move on, get out of the way, But my second sighting, I had Jason McLean, which is one of my co-hosts over on our channel, and our buddy Bob, which is our executive producer with me, and we was out scouting campsites for an expedition or an outing. We call it a camping trip, but we was out looking at campsites, and we standing out in the middle of the campsite, and I had binoculars out, and I was looking in the trees, and I saw this thing about 40 yards into the tree, hugging a tree. And he looked different. The first one I saw, he was jet black, smooth hair, the whole 9 yards. This one was, and I was thinking the other night, I'm like, man, I'm tired of saying gray and fuzzy, but he was gray and fuzzy. Picture a koala. That's what he looked like. But if he was a koala, he was the biggest damn koala I've ever seen. And we went and we looked. I was trying to hand the binoculars off, and guys, let me tell you, if you're gonna really look at an area, and you got several people, because you want to witness if you can get it, put them on a freaking tripod. Because handing glasses back and forth, going, look at that tree, it ain't gonna work. By the time I got the glasses back, he was gone, and they didn't get a chance to see it because they couldn't zero in on the tree I was trying to point at. But we went out and we went to investigating the tree. And what was really, really cool is there were bare spots around this tree where this thing had stood time after time after time again. And there was a trail leading off from the tree that had literally bare spots. And there was a lot of dry foliage on the ground where you could see that purposely stepping over dead branches. So they were using that tree as an observation post to watch campers in that campsite.
How do you guys feel about, I hear different things about weapons. Like some groups I know, they said they don't want to bring any weapons because they can sense it. They're not gonna show themselves. They're smarter than that. And some people say you're crazy if you're going out there to trying to look for a creature and not have a weapon, because you're better to have one than not to have one. What are your feelings about it? Because you had some encounters. I mean, I'm sure. I don't know if you do. I don't know if you bring one or not. But what are your weapons?
Well, that was kind of a that specific thing evolved with me over the past 5 years. I've been actively doing this, and at first I didn't carry. Let me tell you this encounter. I was co-hosting another show, and I shot my mouth off, and I said, because everybody's talking about how spooky Brown Springs is and everything like that. And there's been researchers out there go out there, get scared away, and swear they'll never go back. I said, I can't swallow that, you know. So I said, I'm gonna go out there and go to this place by myself. And it's got a cemetery in it and everything. Everybody's talking about how bad and badly blown the cemetery is and all this kind of stuff. So I said, I'm gonna go to the cemetery at night by myself. Well, I go out there and I drive up to the bottom of the cemetery. The cemetery sits about 100 yards off, up on top of a hill, and back in the woods. It's a decrepit, old, abandoned cemetery. Youngest grave there has got a death date of 1924.
Damn.
So, and we found out a lot about the history since then. But so I get out of my truck and I'm getting my stuff ready, and I've got footsteps all around me. I'm hearing whoops and growls and all kinds of stuff. And I feel like I'm just surrounded. I don't know. I didn't feel safe. I thought, well, maybe I need to rethink this here plan that I've cooked up. So I get back in my truck, and I didn't have any cell service out there. So I get back in my truck. I drive 2 miles back or a mile and a half back to where I've got service. I make some phone calls to a couple of people. They try to talk me out of going. You don't need to do this. I said, no, I've already said I was going to do it. And that's kind of the guy I am. I say I'm going to do something. If I'm not dead or dying or something like that, I'm going to do it. So I packed up. I went back. I got out at the bottom of the cemetery. I still heard some footfalls and stuff, but it wasn't as intense as it was. I said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and try it. So I start going up the trail, and I hear a growl over on I believe it was my left side. And I've got audio of this. And you hear me describe it. So I said, I just heard a growl over here and had kind of a purr to it. Now that'll come into play here in a few minutes. So I get up to the cemetery right at the top, and all I've got with me is a pocket knife, a little cheap pen light, and a cell phone with no service. So I'm kind of looking around with my old pen light, and it's about 11:30 at night. And I look back over to my left, and I catch this eye shine. Now, this eye shine is about this big around, about the size of a silver dollar, and about 8 to 10 inches apart. And I start going through my head, okay, what here naturally, normally, would have that big of eyes, and that the main thing that had me worried was the spread between the eyes. Because you're looking at maybe a horse or a cow having that. Problem was, this was only about 2.5 feet off the ground. Okay, well, maybe you got one laying down. That's possible, right? Thinking, okay, this is cool. Well, it starts playing peekaboo behind a tree with me. I'm like, all right, this is pretty cool. And then it stood up. And it got to about 4.5 feet off the ground. And I said, you hear me? Oh, shit, it's time to back out of here. So, and another thing about the woods, when you go out there, do not run. One, if it's an apex predator, you just triggered that instinct in them. You're prey. You're running from me. Number two, odds are you're going to hurt yourself. Then you're going to be in a world of hurt. So do not run. And I ain't running nowhere anyway. But
I love that.
So
no, you're right. We're older. We can't run as good as Connor probably can. Connor outlap us like 10-1.
Hey, I'm old, fat with bad knees. I ain't running nowhere. Okay. So I start backing out down the trail and get back to my truck. Nothing happens. And so then you fast forward, and that was the second time I went up there at night. I went back up there the third time with 3 more other people in tow. And we had some weird stuff happen to us then. I got possibly zapped, and I'm sure we'll get into that with these two down here. But we found a cedar tree that from about 12 to 15 feet up on one side. All the limbs were stripped off of it, not sawed off of it, stripped off of it, piled up down at the bottom, and something had been laying on them. Now, a cedar tree, that has some significance because a cedar is a natural bug repellent. There's a reason they make cedar chest. Moths and stuff don't like it. So anyway, we found that. We found an interesting marker that, back in the day when people were trailblazing, they would take a young tree, a sapling, and tie the limb at a right angle. And it would grow that way because nature really don't do right angles very well. So we found one of those. That was cool. We found a big wide game trail that led down to the back of the cemetery. And I thought, well, I'm going to go down that. But before that, I got zapped. I was walking point and moving right along. And then all of a sudden, man, it just felt like I was going to pass out. I broke out in a cold sweat. I thought I was having a damn heart attack. I'm leaning up. I'm hugging a tree. They walk past me. Old boy turns around. He says, "What the hell's wrong with you? You white as a ghost." I said, and the other two guys we had with us, one was from Denmark, one was from Austin, Texas. I didn't want to ruin their trip, because we just got up there pretty much. And I said, I'll just go back down to the truck and I'll, get some water and top, and I'll just blow a little bit. They said, no, if one person goes, everybody goes. I said, well, just give me a minute. About 5-10 minutes later, I was better than I was before. So I don't know what happened. But anyway, we went through all that and stuff, found out all that kind of stuff. We found that game trail. I said, let's go down this game trail. And we were single file. There was 4 of us. I'm in the front, and 2 old boys were in the middle. And that one researcher I was with, he was in the back. We take a couple of steps towards that game trail, and this god-awful, deep guttural growl comes from inside that game trail. And we felt it as much as we heard it. The guy in the back, it's time to go. So we turned around, we went back. We went back to camp, which was down the road. And hell, that night, about 2:30, we got screamed at twice, and that was pretty crazy. But
hey, Dr. Wu, Bob, you were just recently up in the mountains with our relatives and stuff.
Yeah.
Didn't you guys hear some noises too when you were up there on your last trip?
Oh God, yeah. There's lots of weird shit. Only because the forest was on fire a long time ago, so I wanted to go see that part. Half of the damn forest up there is burnt. It's black. It's like you can see. It's like
hey guys, he's talking about the Sierra Mountains above Fresno.
So a lot of areas up in the high mountains, it's completely burned. And so we noticed the animal migrations are just wacky. Because A, the weather is completely off its rocker. That doesn't make sense to anybody. And invasion, who fucking knows? Aliens. And the place keeps burning. And so there's different burn patches. So every time we went to an area, we see maybe a doe. We're talking about wild animals and weird. I'm just giving you guys an idea because the bucks are so fucking scared because they're out in the open. They're going to be shot. A lot of animals are on migrations and they're going lower. And we're following them down. They're coming down to the lower areas, much lower. And we had a couple of weird encounters up. Well, they're not. I'm not Sasquatch. They're not fucking otter man. Most likely it's the UFOs, but you can see a lot different up the top of the mountains. Like a lot of weird shit up there. But yeah, animal migration. Yeah, we did see it's an unusual thing up there. So you're always hearing something. Like we're hearing something 24 because animals don't know where to go.
Okay.
They've lost their underbrush. They've lost a lot of the trees are just, you just see thousands of miles of black trees burnt and there's nothing and it's all clear below the trees, which Mother Nature is loving this bathing. Mother Nature to bathe in fire. So these I call them beautiful now. They're black.
He's from Fresno. He knows.
Yeah. And it's all black and burnt with thousands of trees like that. It's just clear foliage. And so now I get all the animals are just everywhere. And bears, there are illegal bear hunters everywhere. We were up there. They're not allowed to use dogs. Can't use dogs. And there are bear hunters everywhere because the bears are just scattering in little green patches where nothing burned. And then they move their way down to the bears are going all around the houses and all these rich fuckers that are up in the woods that have their private houses. Bears are ravaging their houses. They're going through everything.
Well, I remember we went down there for the wedding, Bob, in Madera. I remember Madera, and our cousin goes, I go, let's go in the mountains now. Let's go do some research. And I remember our cousin goes, guys, you go up there, you're going to cry because the mountains just don't look the same anymore.
Oh, no.
And, you know, and since a lot of the mountain part got burnt, the hunting section has shrunk. Now you got more people. You got all these animals coming down, and it's pretty sad.
Bird patterns are wrong. Everything's wrong. Temperatures are wrong because it's not trapping heat like it used to do with the foliage. It's all mountains in California are really upside down, really freaky. I don't feel bad for them. I don't like humans anyway, so fuck that. And so the earth is getting a fire cleanse. And what I'm telling you is the earth likes it because it's all cleaned up below. Seeds are growing. Things are growing fast. Trees are starting to regrow. Things are moving into the area, starting to regrow. Nature's going back into it. It's going to take our kids to see the real trees green again, but I see it as a positive. Again, we did have some kind of a couple of thumpers. They call them the thumpers. And if you guys know what a thumper is, if you guys know about Bigfoot stuff, we did have thumpers. So, but you know, it's hard to not debunk and to debunk. But where we're at, there was nobody at for a very long, for a long ways. We did get thumpers. That's what we call them. And they usually standoffish, like way down in there. Now, there's no human down in the area where it's thumping. There's no fucking humans in there.
The areas we go, we're the only ones there. You're right. Yeah. There's nobody there. It's our spot.
Well, you guys, and back east, you guys call them knockers. They knock. You know what I'm talking about. A caller knows what I'm talking about. They're knockers. Oh, yeah. So I just call it the thumpers. We get thumpers all over down in certain areas. And even they, if they exist, I believe in them, the Bigfoot are they're on the walk. They're on the prowl too. They're all over the place too. They're moving all over the place. That's why they're knocking. They're knocking where we're at. But let us know that they're there, and then them to us to them. So I feel bad for any of the old Bigfoots up or lycanthropes up here in the Sierra Mountains. They're having a rough time.
You know, but that's a pretty good thought process because you're in Texas. Are you guys having like forest issues with fires and stuff? I know Texas is pretty dry itself. Yeah.
Sometimes we'll have a bad season. This year it's been so bad and wet that we really hadn't had a problem.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Hey, you know, if I can interject something, or Gypsy Road in text, you guys about like 10, 11 minutes ago, my text was rolling in with his awesome story, and I wanted to bring this up because I think it was kind of important. We were talking about the young guns. We were talking about people how come you stop and take a picture, or people getting ridiculed and things of that nature, carrying a weapon. I had a really extremely traumatic encounter. Right, it was terrifying, and
sorry about that.
Oh, Tex, I loved it, man. That's why I had held my point that you both talked about. I'm not want to interrupt, that especially when you tell such a great story. And so I was just trying to remember, which I think is a very good point, that a lot of people come down on people on. It's like the only reason I started a channel called Bigfoot Michigan Rob, and I'm not saying that because that's my channel, it's because I had a creepy, scary encounter, terrifying encounter, and so I used YouTube just to listen to music. And for 6 months, I was like locked in the basement, didn't know what the hell I looked at. So I discovered you could make videos on YouTube. Then I had to market it, so I'm put down Bigfoot so people watch it because I had to get it out. I never was able to expound and tell my story. I put out the video. You know what made me just want to give up? And I got really dark and I didn't want to talk to nobody. The first like 4 comments on my video was, how come you didn't take a picture? You're full of shit. And at this time, like today, 3.5 years later, I could care less if you believe me. I don't try to sell Bigfoot on anybody. I know they exist, and if you don't, oh well, that's on you. And that discouraged me though when people were just giving negative comments. But I fought through it. So it's like, for anybody out there, man, that has a story, and then a lot of people don't come forth because of what happened to me. I was fortunate that I just powered my way through it. You know, not that I'm a superhuman, but I said, you know what, screw that. Then I started researching it more and found out that, hey, I wasn't the only one out there.
Well, let me jump in real quick here, because Rob's encounter is very significant. He is one of the he's one of the 2 people that I personally know that saw a Bigfoot and saw it vocalize. And that, you know, seeing Bigfoot's rare. Seeing Bigfoot vocalize, that don't happen very often. So go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, no, and I just wanted to make that point. Thanks, Tex. I just wanted to make that point because what I saw, and you know, what I saw was, I don't know if you want me to tell the encounter. I don't know if any of your people have heard it. It's up to you, but it went from, it had 2 different looks about it. You know, I guess I can roll with it a little bit. No one's probably, I went fishing. I'll make it, it's a 30-minute story. I'll make it 10 minutes. I was fishing in Lake Cadillac up in northwestern Michigan with my girlfriend, Cindy. Started out Lake Cadillac, and I went down to, there's a canal that leads to Lake Mitchell. Now, Lake Mitchell is not as big as Lake Cadillac, but I liked it because it backed up to the national forest out there. So it was beautiful. Not as many homes. They were spaced apart 50, 60 yards, and there wasn't a business build-up around it. Lake Cadillac had a lot of, not industry, but bars, restaurants, homes. You know, it was a retail neighborhood, but very nice. But Mitchell was more serene. So we're floating down the southern bay. There's a bay in Lake Mitchell. It's a southern bay, and it leads to this creek called Mitchell Creek. Now, Lake Mitchell dumps into Mitchell Creek. So we're drifting about 90 feet from shore, and I'm setting up Cindy's lures for the fishing pole as well as mine. And then she tells me, hey, Rob, someone's throwing rocks at the boat. I said, they're not hitting the boat, are they? Or whatever I had said. She was no, like 4 or 5 feet in front of the boat. And I'm like, I look, I don't see anything. I said, well, maybe some bait fish jumping around. So I go about my business, my head's down. I'm, you know, working the lures, and hey, Rob, someone's throwing rocks at the boat. And I look at her, I'm getting perturbed. I look, there's nothing there. When you look to shoreline, it's woods and rocky, partially sandy beach. I'm like, Cindy, okay, whatever. Let's not get into this. There's nobody standing there. They'd have to be in the water because you can't even really no one's standing in rocks. So I just happen to look up casually, like I'm like, oh, she's frustrating me. So I'm like, oh. So when I do that, I see some object coming from the sky. Falls about 5-10 feet in front of the boat. Makes a splash, and it's a rock. And I'm like, damn. I look at her like, damn. So I look at her, and her face is asphyxiated at the shoreline. This is June 18th is the exact date. She had a suntan, looked good. Her face was white. Then I looked ashore, and I know why her face turned white. There was this creature, man. It was standing there 8-9 feet tall. His arms came down past his knees, shaggy, reddish brown hair. The front, gray, not as much hair. The face, gray, kind of wrinkled looking. But the thing about this creature is it looked human, but it looked like a person with Down syndrome. It had like droopy offset eyes, big flat nose, wide mouth.
We call them Down. Cool.
Yeah, you know, it was freaky. It looked like, and I don't like to mention that on air about, I understand that people with their children, I get it. So I apologize. I don't want to offend anybody, but it looked like that sort of person. But not really human. It looked like not a monster. It looked like more animal, but the face looked kind of human-like. So the thing that's really, I'm fixated at this thing. The thing that really blows my mind, it raises its arms parallel to the lake, and it drops its jaw, exposes like incisors teeth coming down, coming up. His face comes back, it contorts into what I describe as a demon. So look from a Down syndrome person to like a demonic figure. And that's the only way, guys, I can explain it. And it lets out in unison a roar, a screech, and a yell with its face. And he was pissed off. And the thing about it is I'm like 90 feet from shore, and I feel shock waves.
Wow.
Penetrate and hit me. There was actually ripples in the lake appeared toward the boat. I get stunned. The ripples, and this was a little cheap boat I rented. It couldn't have been more than 8 inches from the surface. You know, it wasn't like a big old $40,000 boat. It was a cheap old, just something to fish on. My girlfriend screams, I think, because she saw the creature, but no, she tipped off the back of the boat and falls in the water. And I'm looking at this thing and I'm paralyzed because I can't move. I know that she fell off the boat and I got to get her. And I'm looking at this thing and they talk about infrasound and things like that, but man, I couldn't move to the right. I couldn't even turn my head to the right. And what I seen was then all of a sudden my vision turned into a filter.
Michael Myers.
It turned into a filter. Yeah, Dr. Wu, man. It turned into a filter of not black and white, but not crisp color like we're seeing here on the, online here. So I'm trying to shake my head. I snap out of it. I turn, I get her in the boat. Scariest thing, man, right here is this right here. That was scary enough. I look to shoreline. This thing is gone. Nowhere to be seen. I'm 90 feet from shore, man. I don't know what the hell this thing is at the time. Is it swimming? Is it coming to get us? Sped the boat around.
You were at Lake Crystal, man. You were at Crystal Lake.
Yeah, Camp Crystal Lake,
That's Michael. Crystal Lake.
Voorhees, man. It was Jason Voorhees, man.
Yeah, Jason Voorhees. That's right. It was Jason.
Yeah. Michael Myers, he's another crazy one. But, I speed all the way back, man. I get to the other side. We get out of the boat. We go to this bar. We don't even speak to each other. I broke all sorts of rules. I created wakes. I didn't give a shit. I was getting out of there. We walk to some bar. My girlfriend at the time don't drink. We get in. We go in the back corner of the bar because we don't want to be around nobody. She gets a shot of Jack Daniels and a Budweiser. I look at her, damn, baby. I said, give me a double of each, So she goes, what the hell do you think that was? I said, man, honey, I don't know. She goes, I think it was that Bigfoot creature. Now, I'm going to tell you guys, I believed in Bigfoot well before this, but I never researched. I never thought. If I watched Leonard Nimoy, I'd watch Leonard Nimoy. If I saw, Captain Kirk, doing monsters and myths or whatever, I'd watch that. I read a kid's book, which is probably the only book that they ever made back when I was going to school, because I was interested in that. I believe in UFOs. I believe in everything. That's why I do what I do today. But I never, saw it after it.
Yeah.
Now I know I was a believer way back then, but now I'm a knower. I know. You can't. So, anyways, long story short,
were you a teenager? Were you a teenager at the time? Were you a teenager?
No, when I saw Bigfoot, I was a grown man. This is 3.5 years ago.
Oh, okay. I thought it was Jason Voorhees. Oh no,
When I was Jason Voorhees, I don't know. He was in the 80s, I think, man. But I loved all that shit. Too. I like all that, and I'm weird that way. That's why we're all doing this. So I didn't mean to offend you guys. Yeah, you're all weird. Fuck it. So anyway, she goes, should we report it to the DNR? I say, honey, we're gonna look like two idiots. Now we're drinking, and now we look foolish, And the thing I always hate to say, you guys, I can say it better today. 2 months later to the day of the Bigfoot happening, Cindy, my girlfriend, passed away. I thought that this thing killed it, man. I thought we got hit with that shock. I thought it crippled her organs. I mean, it was exactly 8 weeks, man. And I went crazy. I got like on the dark side. I locked myself. I thought I was going crazy. Then I'm thinking, yeah, this thing was the devil, man. Today, I don't believe that. But even today, I talk to people. I can't 100% tell you that was even Bigfoot. I mean, it looked like a Bigfoot, then it didn't.
Was it a hockey mask?
Dude, no, man, it was a person. It just, I know you're kidding, but man, no, it was traumatic. I didn't want to see nobody, man. I didn't tell no one. Then I said, fuck it, I'm gonna make this show. I'm gonna put a video out there, see what type of response I get, which was negative, like I'm saying, like I said earlier. That got me down. I owned a bar at the time when this happened. I didn't go to work for 6 months. I let them run it. I said, drop the money in the bank. I didn't care. I didn't care. I did not care. Then I met some good people, and I pulled myself out of it, and that's why I do what I do today.
Do you feel like you actually go back to that spot today, or you just stay away from the one spot that you experienced this?
If you'd asked me that question 2 years ago, I'd say, hell no, I ain't going back. You asked me today, hell yeah, I'm going back. I don't. I'm going back. There's people that wouldn't go back, but I'm going back.
I want to go there.
And it's not even the finest thing, but I guess it would be a semblance of closure. But you know what? Because 3 years ago, I did want to go back and blow it out of the water, right? I mean, that's what I just wanted to kill it. Today, my viewpoint is differently because I've been able to talk about it many times. I've told this story many, many times, and I'm glad I hooked up with Tex, and we got an awesome show going, a channel, and I'm meeting a lot of great people in the last 3 years in the community. I'm good today, you guys. I'm not, jumping off. I'm fine, but what I do today is a part, because if I never had that encounter, I wouldn't be Bigfoot Michigan Rob, BMR. I wouldn't know Tex. I wouldn't know you cool dudes. I'd just be an average Joe, man, schlepping beers at the bar.
But what I like that you said, Rob, is you're not admitting that you know exactly what it is. You have in your heart that probably is a Bigfoot, but you're also keeping an open mind that maybe it was a demon, or something up there. Somebody told me this crazy theory. I don't know if this is Bob and I always hear these crazy theories. Somebody told me that their idea what a Dogman is that a UFO has, UFOs, if you believe in UFOs, they come and they animals, DNA, whatever, that a Dogman is a Bigfoot ejected with alien DNA. I'm not saying that's true or not, but is it crazy to maybe think that maybe?
I think they exist. I have a theory. I have my theory. Here we go. This is science. I'm not joking, by the way. I'm actually being serious. It's kind of weird being serious.
And people in the chat, if you don't know, Bob went to University of Washington as an archaeologist. He's actually been to a few places around the world, and he worked at the Smith Museum in Washington, D.C., Museum of Flight. So he's been at museums. So I don't want people to think, who's this crazy guy in the bottom with the beard? He's actually a real archaeologist. He studied a different stuff.
Physical all that fun stuff. But his is kind of cool on evolutional scale. And everyone's like, shit, I lost half my audience. Just relax for a second. We're talking dimensionally on a flat surface, right? Whatever surface, dimensionally evolutional step. But everything here is whack. So I listen. I have my ear to the grind for anything new, anything that's changed in my opinion to where I'm from. And I hear like certain new science stories coming out. Certain when it comes to biology, it's amazing. It's like people talk about like evolution with electronics. You guys got to hear all the new science shit that's coming out right now with whatever effects you want to call this. In evolution now, they've looked at the dolphin, and they're checking their DNA and comparing it to humans, and there's a link. So if you ever look at the anatomy of a dolphin, like the whole skeleton, it's not that far away from a hominid. These they could be advanced hominids that went into the I don't know how you want to run evolution, but they're more similar to us than pretty much primates. I'm like, huh? Wait a minute. So you're putting a dolphin in front of the monkey now. So we're no longer from the monkey, we're from the dolphin. Or was the dolphin an ancient ancestor from further back? So then you go into evolution. Now, if at one time they were back in like several million years or whatever you consider what time is, these things were on land, breathing air with feet, and they move around. And they would be considered almost humanish, hominid, but with a face like a small little half dog, half human, which we'd call the Dogman. So if in evolution, if you know how to follow evolution up, if you're a believer, you would see the dolphin to a hairy little creature on the ground that is hominid, that builds itself up across land, is the first living thing from the ocean first. From the ocean to land would make what you would have this creature, the Dogman, look like theoretically in this comic book. It would be just like that. It wouldn't be a wolf. It would be a vertebrate hominid, came from the dolphin. And then from there, it would change to something else. It changed. I don't know how that would go for further, but it's plausible. What I'm saying scientifically, if you follow that evolutionary scale from.
Well, Tex said that his Dogman encounter had that bump like on the back, kind of like a dolphin shape in a way. I mean,
guess what the dolphin has on its back? Yeah, it's a lot of similarities between what he described as a Dogman, a werewolf, or whatever, a Dogman. It sounds more like a hominid that had came from the evolutional line of the porpoise in the water, all the porpoises, which would be a new branch to evolution. So now we're either some of us are seeing a crossed riff of time and some dimension. Now we've got hominid Dogmen, but they're primate, if you would call it. It'd be a weird kind of a hominid. I wouldn't even call it primate. A hominid werewolf thingy would look like that. In evolutional, it's kind of fucking fantastic. It's like we're getting all.
But it sounds like these things have been here for millions of years. They're just not. Not show up one day.
Evolution dolphins are becoming more similar to us than the primates. So, if you want to start a whole new line of thought, just playing with you guys, you could say, let's put dolphins first. From dolphins to this creature, from this creature to this creature, and then eliminate the monkey altogether. It's up to you guys.
Since we're going down the theory path, I want to touch on the UFO theory topic that you brought up.
Yeah.
My thought on because you hear a lot of reports of either they saw a Bigfoot coming out or a Dogman, whatever, coming out of a UFO or going into a UFO, or they encountered this creature, then they saw the UFO, or vice versa. And I think a lot of people are jumping to the conclusion that these things are extraterrestrial. I don't think so. My theory is, because I do believe in UFOs. I haven't seen one that I know of, but I love the line in that movie. If they don't, it's a lot of wasted space. But my thought on this, on the whole thing is, we've got people getting abducted. We've got animals being abducted and mutilated. Why wouldn't they do the same thing to these Bigfoot and Dogman creatures to study them.
Yeah.
And that's why you're seeing, you don't see Bigfoot flying a UFO. You see him either being dropped off or getting on or whatever, or you see him real close proximity. Same thing with the Dogman. So my thought is they're probably getting probed just like we are,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's just my thought. As far as the origin of now, I'm gonna hit it from another side as far as the evolution goes.
Yeah.
And I love that we can sit and have these conversations because we need to do that. That's how we're going to learn. These people arguing back and forth, they're never going to accomplish anything. When we can sit down and have an intelligent, respectful conversation and agree to disagree, that's where we're going to learn stuff if we're open-minded enough.
Yeah.
So I'm going to hit you with the other side of it. My theory on let's stick with Dogman. I don't even want to get on the subject about Bigfoot being on the ark or nothing like that, because that opens up a whole new can of worms. But I do think if you look back to, let's say, Anubis, okay. Now, if you look at Anubis, it wasn't just Anubis wandering around. They had armies of these things. And if you look at other cultures of that time period, they have these dog creatures too in their cultures. And so they were there, evidently, if you believe what they wrote in the past.
Yeah.
Now, the creatures that were there at that point in time were very different from what we're encountering now. These things were worshipped as gods. They were super intelligent. They led people, and in some aspects they were slaves, But so I think it's a possibility that they were not on the ark, that the flood just damn near decimated their species, but not quite. And in a last-ditch effort to repopulate their species, they had to interbreed. And they interbred mostly, I think, with other canines. Possibly people. We don't know if that's capable. We hear about Bigfoot, grabbing up women and stuff, supposedly for that. And there's a report out of Brown Springs that this woman got brutalized by a Bigfoot and it killed her. But what if Dogman, like I said, it wasn't on the ark. It almost got destroyed, almost got wiped out. The only way they had to preserve their species was to interbreed with other canines. That would explain the drop in intelligence that we see. That would explain all the different looks that they have. I've seen pictures of them where they look like a freaking Doberman. I've seen them look like a wolf. I've seen them look like,
like a bulldog,
look like a freaking schnauzer,
Yeah.
So that if you look at the way dogs came from wolves and look at all the different looks that you have now, because Jason loves to make this comparison. If you didn't know what a dog was, okay, and somebody showed you a wiener dog and a German Shepherd, that's two different animals,
Yeah.
But they can breed, not very easily, but they can breed. Okay. So maybe that explains why we have so many different looks of them now. Maybe that explains the drop of intelligence. Maybe that explains the drop in population.
We came from dogs.
And I don't think they breed like dogs. They have a full litter, because if they did, we'd be overran like coyotes.
Yeah.
So I think maybe their gestation cycle is probably closer to the humans. You know,
Yeah.
there's enough of that DNA that it picks that up. You know, but that's just my theory.
I like it.
No,
I've seen people look like dogs.
you know, and that's another thing that that's another thing that I touched on. Is it just honest? I mean, is it honestly just coincidence that you have people that you see every once in a while that look like different animals?
Yeah.
Or is it the fact that we came from not just apes, not just this, not just that? What if that DNA is hid in there somewhere? That person looks like a cat. That person he looks like he's. How many times have you? I'm sorry, I'm not trying to offend anybody, but
No.
he's fish faced. She's horse faced.
Listen, DNA is getting better and better every year. It's getting more advanced. We're learning
They
more.
can take a sample of
about
water and
genes
take
and
what
life.
animals are in the environment.
Yeah. And you know, I was telling Texas the other day, we're talking about how advanced we are today. I just saw something on some documentary about a chimpanzee out in whatever country, that this chimpanzee, say that 3 times fast, has now evolved or entered the Stone Age, meaning that they have found these chimps that are fashioning weapons, and they have video of them fishing with spears.
Yeah.
And they're making prehistoric tools. Man, you seen that? Didn't that blow your
Yes,
mind?
you were right.
And then they're like going to evolve into who we are today, perhaps. I mean, I don't know. My mind is blown on all these theories and
no, you're
both
dead
sides
on.
of the coin, you know.
Yeah, that's a well, I'm a Mandela effect person. I know you guys hate that, but I don't ever remember that in my timeline. And so all of a sudden I'm seeing what you're seeing. There are primates that are making tools. I'm like, well, they're making tools here. Holy shit, they're fashioning tools.
Yeah.
I mean, they're doing lithics. It's the first tool in nature. There are I watched a little ass, it is pounding a rock to make it sharp a piece, whatever. And he picks up the broken, sharper piece, and now he's sticking it in. He's using it as a key, like a tool. Then as he gets open to the fruit, then he gets to another piece of the broken rock. This monkey, and he's cutting into it. I'm like, he's fucking cutting flesh. It don't mean it. I mean, who cares? It's a fruit or whatever. He's still cutting flesh.
Yeah.
He's using a tool to cut flesh for food. These primates now, you are so correct.
Well, you know, and another thing that
There's so
amazes
much we don't
me,
know.
you know, another thing that amazes me is octopus. You know, you talk about problem solving. I mean, you got an octopus that can get out of a jar with the lid screwed on, you know.
Thank you, Mr. Sister. My eyes come out more with this hat. Thank you very much.
And octopuses are really interesting too for their camouflage because they can take the color of their surroundings. Plus, they can squeeze through, little holes. And the males, they keep growing if they don't reproduce. So think about maybe these other apex creatures in nature. Maybe if they don't reproduce, or maybe if they take some kind of avenue of life, they get bigger or stronger, or maybe are able to manipulate their vibrations a little bit differently. It just shows that the possibilities are truly endless. And my connection between Dogmen and UFOs, of course, what Tex said, the UFOs, if anything, is going to be testing things on the surface. Of course, they're going to be going after all the werewolves, Mothman, all the anomalies down here they're going to be tapping into. But I actually interviewed a Native American right within 10 minutes from here. So during this interview, he's already could have gobbled my trailer up. He saw a Dogman that started like 4 feet, then rose to 7 feet, but then it rose to taller than the telephone poles. And then when it disappeared into a light into the sky. So this would be a UFO, not a spaceship UFO, but unidentified object. a light in the sky. So sometimes these dogmen might be the orbs or just energy overload that we're seeing. And I know that's pretty far out there. This is a 1 in a bazillion encounter compared to the 1 in a million with these natural lycanthrope, rougarou, dogmen, canine type creatures. And like you said, Tex, that was amazing how, yes, they would adapt and then just breed with all different types of wolves, coyote, bear, all the different type of canine dogs. And whoa, man, no wonder we're seeing all these different variants. And the stuff that I've seen with my own 2 eyes shows me that just energy is manipulable. You know, we are never stuck in our shell. And I'm sure those creatures with their roars and with their vibrations definitely have a little bit of something. And what Rob experienced on that bank right there, man, I definitely think there was a little bit of infrasound, but also weaponized sound as well. And I'm sad you had to go through that, man. And I'm glad it made you, strong in who you are, because your story has definitely changed many lives. So, the small sacrifice, big sacrifice 100%, but the bigger overlook, I think it's all meant for a good reason. And one day in heaven is 1,000 years on earth. So it's just like you're just waiting for, get off of work or something. So we'll all be united with who we need to one day.
Oh, yeah.
And I do want to say, I want to thank Tex and Rob, because when we invite guests on, I don't expect people to tell me their encounter stories, because I know you guys done it so many times before. But you guys volunteered it yourselves, and I want to thank you guys so much, because I never want you guys to tell the same story, because sometimes I feel like I already told that story. The only reason they want me on because they want to hear that story, and I don't do that. I love just chatting with people, but for you two just to volunteer your story and Tex, like I said, when you're telling your story, what I do is I watch the person. Anybody can tell a story, but I watch the feelings on how they tell that story. And you and Rob, I'm telling you, there's 90% of it, I believe. The reason I say 90% is because, 10% is keeping an open mind. What exactly did you see?
Open mind. Number one, open mind.
Right.
I always keep an open mind. But you two guys, man, that's sometimes I wonder, how do you do it? Like you see the woods, like it would take a lot of energy to go back out there to trying to face that again, because even though you want to know the truth, but you don't want to see that exact thing again, but you want to know the truth. So it's got to tear you apart in some ways.
Want to know the truth.
I think that what happened to me happened for a reason. And like I said before, had that not happened to me, I wouldn't be doing this, what I'm doing today. And I got to tell you guys, what I do today, I totally love. I really do. And if I didn't, I wouldn't do it, And that's, sometimes you go through tragedy to gain, right? To gain something positive.
Well, probably the biggest, if not one of the biggest reasons that I started my channel was to try and help people that had these traumatic, encounters. Because honest to God, when I hear somebody's encounter and they say, I'll never go out in the woods again, I'll never go camping again, it breaks my heart, because I know what a passion that can be for somebody, and to have that just ripped from your soul is tragic. And I wanted to give people a place and a platform. If they wanted to get on and share their experience, they could, but that's not what it's about. If they want to contact me or, somebody else they trust and talk about their experience and never be mentioned on the show, never be on the show. That's what it's about. You've got to be willing to help people, and you've got to have an open mind. You can't have, be in the guerrilla camp or be in the woo camp. And I, honest to God, I hate those. I'm going to start calling it the Ric Flair camp, because he's the one that's got the corners of the market on. Woo! But You've got to. There's got to be a bridge.
Yeah.
You know, you can't just because you might believe that they're just flesh and blood creatures. They don't have these, supernatural abilities. You can't be arrogant enough to stick to that hard line and expect you're going to help people. You can't diminish somebody's experience because it was different from yours.
Right.
Correct.
I have just because Rob saw something morph into whatever, I'm not going to say, well, that's bullshit because I never saw it.
Right.
Well, I got news for you. Just because I never saw it doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Hey, thank you, brother.
I'm just showing your channel. I always like to show the people's channel that you guys got a lot of good stuff. I mean, you look at your video. Let me see here. Oh, okay. You got Tech's front porch, bunch with Bigfoot. That's the one that Anon was on. Bigfoot Anon was on
Brunch with Bigfoot.
Yeah. Brunch.
Yeah, there he is. Bigfoot Anon was on the 13 days ago. I mean, you guys got a lot of great stuff and a lot of great materials here.
There's got to be a lot of views.
Let me ask you guys this, Tex, Rob. If somebody from this chat who's never been to your channel, I'm sure most of these people have, is there like one video you would tell them to start with? Like, hey, guys, check this one out first, or just start anywhere?
The one I've got set up for people that are just new to the channel that just pops up right away is the documentary that we filmed in Brown Springs.
Okay.
I think that's a good place to start because you hear a lot of the background. You meet a lot of the people that go out in the field with us and stuff like that. You can go back and look at some of the evidence that I've put up there. It's on our channel too, but we've done so many great shows with great people. It's hard to nail it down. And it's just, I mean, we've had Vic Cundiff on a couple of times. We've had, Ken Gerhardt on, but Lyle, Shelley Covington.
Yeah. And tomorrow on Brunch with Bigfoot. We got the tomorrow brunch with Bigfoot at noon Central. We have Ron Moorhead tomorrow.
We get Ron Moorhead. I mean, the list goes on, and it's not just the big names that you hear about out there. We get these independent researchers. We get somebody that may not be a researcher but just had an experience.
Yeah, and that's such a great point that Tex makes. Yeah, sure. I just said Ron Moorhead tomorrow. Yeah, he's a big name. But like last night, when I was on Space Cell Radio, right, Gypsy, that first encounter I said about Kyle and Mantra, they were kind of not known people. They were doing it for a couple of years, but two people that no one heard about. You got to watch. That's a great show. It
is.
They're out there doing their thing, man. No one knows about them, but that's what we do. Whether you're into not the business. I still own a bar. I still say business. This ain't business, but I do it all the time, you guys. 13 years. I mean, what can I say? But 20 years experience in the field versus 20 days. So, and everything in between. we don't turn you away if you got a story, or if you're a new researcher, an old researcher, right. You got an experience, or if you have an encounter that you're embarrassed about saying, like Tex said, you don't have to air it. We'll talk to you in private, or if you want to air it, you won't be made fun of on our channel, because one thing that we always make certain, we don't put up with anybody making fun of people, because it's hard enough to come on and show your face and be broadcast against thousands of people probably after it gets aired. That takes a lot of guts. I was a baby because I didn't do it for almost a year.
The biggest thing that we stress on our channel is respect,
right,
and open-mindedness. I've got now, guys, and Connor, I love you to death, brother, but we don't have the same views on stuff, and that's okay. I've got very, very close friends that claim to mind speak with Bigfoot. And it's not that I think they're crazy or anything. How am I going to call anybody crazy? Oh, I saw a werewolf. You know, I mean, come on, guys. You know, it's like I always said, you know, you want to, when Bigfoot becomes the normal conversation, you know, you're on the fringe, you know. Now, but I've got very dear friends that claim to mind speak with these things. They're experiencing something. They're not lying to me. My concern, and it is, and I've said this 1,000 times. I think me and you talked about it when we was on our show, Con. My concern is, because of what we're running into out in the field, is that it's not Bigfoot. You know, that it could be something else posing as Bigfoot.
True.
Because we run into so much stuff that we've had to narrow down what is a Bigfoot sighting or what is a Bigfoot encounter out in the field, because we run into so much other crap, you know, on the paranormal side of things. I mean, when you've got things, and I've got this, guys, this is on audio on the channel, under the evidence. I was at my truck getting my gear ready, fixing to go up to the cemetery by myself again. There's growls and voices that I never heard for like 5 minutes, you know, just going and going and going. I'm up the trail about 10 minutes into the video. You hear a female voice, just clear as freaking day. Come on. I was by myself at like 3 o'clock in the morning, people.
Was it going like this?
That's the only thing missing, brother. Let me tell you. We've been sitting around camp there with
love that guy, man.
With 8 to 10 people sitting around a campfire, hearing female laughter on both sides of the camp. You know?
Well, Tex, we talk about that all the time on here, that sometimes, you know, with paranormal, people died everywhere on this planet.
Everywhere.
Voices. You gotta, you know, you have, Bob and I say this all the time. You do have to debunk. You
Yes.
debunk all the way to what you have left. And what you have left, you can't debunk no more. Then you got something to say what it is. I've said all the time, voices. That could be a ghost. It doesn't necessarily have to be a Bigfoot or a creature.
Right.
You got to have an open mind. And I love what you guys are saying, how you let people come to your show and you talk. I'm very proud that a lot of people started their own channels. We were the first show they ever came on because they felt so comfortable, because we're so open-minded. We don't care what they're going to say. We're not going to bash you or thrash you. We might agree with you.
Yeah.
Somewhat.
Now we say weirder things than you guys. We say the weirder things.
The thing about it is, when you start doing this stuff and you start running into all this different stuff out there, I mean, we've had 5 of us up in the cemetery and had, you know, I was with two girls from What the Paranormal, and we're getting weird crap come over the ghost speaker thing, and that is specific to the situation. We had 3 words pop up on this thing, and this was weird. It said, it popped up, it said Grace, Solo, Beast. Okay, now the reason those are specific, Grace is the name of my truck. I named her after Albert Fish's final victim.
Wow.
Grace Budd. Because I, honest to God, think she came out of the grave and put that man away. Honest to God.
Wow.
But
that's awesome.
And then Solo Beast, well, Amy's husband was down at the bottom of the cemetery in his truck by himself. And earlier that night, one of the guys in camp had referred, because this was a big old boy, had referred to, he goes, man, he's a beast.
Yeah.
20 yards from us, we've got P3 Productions, you know, Gary Spikes and Junior and Senior. They're dealing with critters that they've got 3 entities coming towards them that are going from bipedal to all fours, and when they hit them with a flashlight, they disappear. They turn the flashlight off. They're right back where they were.
I have one philosophy. I'm too fat and lazy to go anywhere, so everything's always coming right at me. Here it comes. It's coming right at me because I'm not going nowhere. Oh, it's coming right at me.
But Tex, vice versa. We have a friend named Nicole. Her channel's called Through the Veil Paranormal. They do paranormal research. And on one of her paranormal research, they went to a graveyard. They were doing a chat box and all that kind of stuff. Box. But then, she's a proven medium. But then out in the woods, she saw 2 red eyes. And she heard a growling noise like a Bigfoot. So even if you're on a paranormal search, you got to prepare yourself that you might go there, see something that's not paranormal, that there is some kind of a creature or beast out there or something. You got to be prepared. And she said she felt it. She knows it was a Bigfoot. She's a medium. She said she felt it. And then, of course, she got smart and got the hell out of there.
Yeah, and we're to the point now where we can't, if used to, because I've seen that stuff out there in the field. We've had 15 feet away from camp, 8 feet up, 8 feet off the ground, glowing red eyes in a black shape. Okay. Wow. But we're to the point now to where we can't call that a Bigfoot sighting. We can't call that a Bigfoot encounter.
And you know what? Tex, one thing I'd like to interject. I never knew, I've known Tex for a couple of years, and I never knew, which again expounds on the weirdness of his research area. I never knew that running under the cemetery, correct me if I'm wrong, Tex, isn't there a river or a stream? And isn't that a conductor for that type of activity as well? Wow. Just enhances the overall picture.
There is a spring that runs directly underneath the cemetery and bubbles up on the bottom side.
Death cave underneath the cemetery. It's getting darker.
I do want to say, Jeff Harding told us something when he was on our channel that I'm keeping this to this day. Like he says, sometimes you have had a Bigfoot experience and you just got to come out and say it. A lot of people keep on trying to deny and trying to find other reasons of what you saw. But I kind of agree with Jeff. Sometimes you do got to say, I know that's a Bigfoot. It's going to help you out in the long run than keep trying to deny yourself and trying to put something else in that place. I know it's hard if you don't see it at 100%, but that resonated with me when Jeff told me, when he said that. Like, it makes sense, right? Because sometimes you do got to admit you saw something.
If you feel in your heart that, hey, that was a Bigfoot and that helps you deal with it, by all means, I'm not going to argue with you. But I do want you to remain open-minded enough to look at the possibility of maybe it wasn't. Because the problem that we're finding is you've got this box and it's called Bigfoot. All this stuff has been crammed into this Bigfoot box. And Connor, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We've got to take all that stuff out and lay it all on the table. And we got to separate. I agree.
Because not every hair is DNA from a Bigfoot. Not everything is. You gotta realize 1 out of a million chances you got something that is connected. And even if you do have a DNA hair, you might never know because you got to go to the right place, to be honest with you, to let you know what that hair even is.
And one of my biggest pet peeves at the moment is that I'm really upset about it. And I hear a lot of stories. I go up to the mountains with the Bigfoots and then this and then the that's and all these stories, and they're awesome. And I hear it and I see it over and over again, but nobody ever fucking talks about the elephant in the room. It's Otter Man. Now, Eric and I and Connor did research on the Otter Man. Nobody hears about the Otter Man. So what if you guys are seeing Otter Men?
And us being right off the Red River, hell, I can't say that's not a possibility.
Yeah, Eric, we did a show.
I also can't say that it's not aliens. I can't say that it's not demons. I've got a picture of something that we measured. This thing, I swear to God, it looks like Andre the Giant standing in the shadow. With a big hood bushy hairdo and his build.
Like an
that's
otter.
What it looks like. We went out, took comparison photos, as close to the time frame as we could get as far as year and time of day and all that kind of stuff, and took measurements of where this was taken. This thing was 12 to 15 feet tall. Okay.
Jesus.
Now, if you look back now, now this gets into the history of this place.
How big was his genitals?
Oh, about 3 feet.
Okay, if he's 15 feet, how is his penis this big or this big? What's the fishing story on that one?
Well, and the thing about it is, if you think about,
and was he circumcised, sir? Was he circumcised? That would make him Jewish.
Well, now that's a personal choice, you know. Hey, but I'm not going to volunteer to do it for him if he hadn't had it done. But
because I'm sorry, I would. Okay, if any large creature, it's like 15 foot tall or any tall, comes at me, I'm gonna stare at the genitals. I'm not gay. I won't even probably notice the snarls. I'm gonna be like, is that a set of man's balls on an animal and a penis? I would freak out on the genitals alone. I would run. I was like, whoa, he hung too.
I'm worried about
I look at the genitals.
Well, you know, and there's a reason there's a term called penis envy. What can I say? But you know, there is these things that, you know, these dark shapes. And if you look back in the history of the place that I researched mainly, that there is lore of a huge entity that protects or looks over that place.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, like a gatekeeper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now you have to go, what did we catch on camera? Mm-hmm. Maybe this wasn't a Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Oh, and I didn't mention the hooven print that we found coming out of the cemetery. That was this big a ring.
That's the devil.
Okay. So if you've ever seen, what was it? Sasquatch, the Lost Tapes or something like that.
You saw the devil, my friend.
You know, it's the final scene of it, you know, I mean, that's not a Bigfoot.
Yeah, there's mountain trolls out there that are ginormous, you know, 20 feet to 200 feet out there. I know Duke has found footprints that are 22 inches long or 3 feet long. So imagine how big that type of creature would be. And then Gemma Jade has talked about how there's fairy species that are 11 foot tall, gray, fuzzy beings, like how you described earlier. So yeah, that's where if it's not an animal, it might be Bigfoot, but it might not be Bigfoot. There's so many strange creatures. Kushtaka is, you know, the otter man, the Hibagon.
Otter man.
So many strange creatures. The green-clawed beast, mantis man, mothman, the Mogian monster, skunk ape, you know, photographed in Mayaca, looks a lot different than the one taken in Bluff Creek, like Patty. So yes, there is just so much out there, and I think it's very important, boots on the ground research, but also having our receptors, you know, wide open, because they can reach out on many different realms using apps on the phone that, you know, might be 50-50, but it picks up some kind of frequency from somewhere. So I'm all for using all these different type of experiments and using it. Your dreams are just as real as your reality. So just document it all, and don't be scared to share it. And also, you know, come to open-minded platforms if it is a little bit on the fringe, because some of these places are not ready for this information beyond. But my famous stuff is, you know, we're particle form and we're wave form. Most of the time we're particle because we are solid. But in those true moments of being, pretty much in death, when we become our spirit and we go up to our dome, you could become wave form. So these creatures that are out with Mother Nature all their life for generations, I am sure they could tap into it a little bit. So yeah, the woo, save that for Ric Flair, and he's a free agent now, so we'll leave it be. We are all supernatural. We are all clairvoyant. We're all energy. Energy's never created nor destroyed. It has always existed.
Somebody did have a question in the chat. Somebody did have a question. Now, the question was, what is a gatekeeper? So,
Oh, you
if
don't know what a
somebody-
gatekeeper? Okay, go. Wait, Connor, go ahead. Tell them about a gatekeeper.
Yeah, well, there's many different, realms of gatekeepers. I think that the Sasquatch may be protectors of Middle Earth, so they may be the gatekeepers of that. But then there are dark deities and other elementals that can maybe shift between forces and dimensions that kind of keep a regulation on things, and they are the gatekeepers. But then there's gatekeepers that are mentioned in the Bible. There's gatekeepers in this freaking community that I'm on a mission to burn down and blast down doors of. But yes, there are many different avenues of gatekeepers.
Man, you were like Koblin's like spirit guide. You remember like a Ghostbusters, and they always like always refers back to the. You remember the Koblin spirit guide? They are like everything comes out of that one spirit guide. You remind me of that spirit guide. You're like, I don't know what energy monster this is. Connor, what an energy monster is. Well, dude, from the dimensions it comes from. I'm like, it's like the Koblin. You're like the Koblin spirit guide.
well, let's
Any monster we need to know about.
We're close. We're close to 8 minutes left, and I know they're on the East Coast, so I know they're probably getting tired. Tex probably has to go to work first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
But Tex and Rob, you guys got anything coming up real soon on your channel, like a show tomorrow or next day? You got what's the next big thing coming up for you guys?
Tex, you can go first.
Well, I'll let you go over tomorrow's show because you're the brunch dude. We've got some fascinating changes coming up to the channel. We're there. A lot of you, if you go to the channel, you're going to see a little teaser that I put out today. It's a little vague, and that's on purpose. But you're going to see some changes, so don't be shocked if you see a big change on the channel in the very, very near future.
Then let's do this. Hold on. Is this it? Changes coming?
that
50
is it.
seconds?
Yeah.
Well, let's check it out.
that's great.
Let's check it out.
Forever is strange. It's short.
I fear no evil. Evil fears me. I love that.
Oh man, that is so spaghetti western right there.
I know.
That is so spaghetti western.
Thank you. But
great.
I'll
Great
go
show.
ahead and say it. We are rebranding.
Yeah.
So it's because honestly, when you, I mean, as much as I absolutely love our logo, our current logo, and our current name, it is a mouthful. Trinity PARA-CRYPTID Research, and it's so hard for people to remember and stuff like that. We're streamlining the channel, and we're going to be spreading our wings, as it were. We're going to add at least one, possibly two more shows. We are, we're also going to be, we're going to be on other platforms. We're going to be on podcast platforms, which we've never done. So that's coming up.
Cool.
Yeah. So we've got a lot of stuff that's just happening. We're in.
Do you guys multi-stream by any chance? Do you guys multi-stream?
Well, that's what we're going to do.
Because like we this show right now is multi-stream on Facebook and Twitter.
Cool.
That's what we're fixing to start doing. So we'll be available in a lot more platforms, Spotify, Google, that type of thing. Somebody was asking me about the logo. Jason McLean, fantastic freaking artist.
Yeah, Chad Smith was.
Yeah, he's the one that me and him work together, and I kind of get something in my head. I tell him what I've got, and then he goes to drawing it. And then we as a group, we get together. There's 5 of us in the group, and we're totally transparent on everything we do. You know, it's like, okay, everybody gets a vote, everybody's equal, and we decide. That's how we decide things on our channel. You know, and so that's what we're doing, and we're going not a different direction. We're just opening it up. You know?
That's awesome.
Nice, man.
We're fixing the show that we're gonna have. One of the shows that we're gonna have.
I'll be on.
You're more than welcome, dude.
Cool. Is it formal? Do I have to wear a tie?
Do I look formal to you?
You gotta ask. If you're coming on somebody else's show, you're like, how do I dress?
Don't show up in a wife beater, you know, and I'll be all right. But no, we're gonna one show that we're gonna start is gonna be called The Watering Hole. And it's going to be a panel type discussion like this every time. So there's going to, you know, and we won't see all of us in the group there, you know, every time, but at least 2 or 3 of us will be there. Plus we're going to bring in guests and have conversations just like we did tonight, you know, because I love the idea of having somebody like from the gorilla camp and somebody from the Ric Flair camp, and
yes,
and that can have an intelligent civil conversation. You know, I don't want any. It's not a debate; it's a conversation. Because if we don't start listening to each other and sharing information, we ain't gonna learn jack shit.
Yep.
I mean, let's be honest.
We don't debate on this channel. You're right. We don't debate. It's all conversation.
No.
Everybody has the right to their own opinion.
I've seen it all, man. That's why I don't care. I've seen a ghost. Like in England, and I've talked about this lady was crossing the road. Like there's this road. It's a weird bend, and I'm crossing it, and I'm doing her a double take on my dude. So she looked at me, and I looked at her, and I'm looking at the behind of her, and then she's walking away, and I turned around. I took one more. I gotta take one more look. I turned. She's gone. Now. You don't just disappear. And I saw what I saw. Now I'm looking at the hiney. Okay, so I'm not gonna just imagine that. I mean, there's an actual physical hiney that I walk by and I'm checking it out. She's a nice person. It's not gonna disappear to me like, oh, I was just thinking of that. No, this person was there. And then meanwhile, before that, I was standing there waiting for a person to buy some cigarettes cheap, because over there it's very expensive. But I know some Turkish people that are selling it fucking cheap cigarettes. So anyway, I'm waiting for them to give me some cigarettes, and across the street there's this weird guy pacing at the bus stop, back and forth, looking agitated. So I'm like watching him, and he looks stupid and gross, but he's not bothering anybody. Now I'm across the street and I'm bothered. So I'm like, this goofy guy walking back and forth, smoking, not bothering anybody. And I'm like, that's weird. I would be totally bothered. Look at this weird guy.
He's a cigarette man.
So I'm walking away. I look back, he's gone. And the people are guys still on his cell phone, girl still standing there looking at her watch. I'm like, no, and the guy's gone. I said, so actual ghosts. They're like real people. They're like real people still irritated at one moment in time of their life somewhere. Where they right at the death corner, I was told later, that's where a lot of people died. They get hit by buses. Over there, there's no crosswalk rules. There's no crosswalking. There's no such thing. It's not illegal. So there's no jaywalking. Jaywalking is not a law over there. There's no jaywalking in England. So this one corner, since there's no jaywalking, they can walk in traffic. They wonder when they get fucking hit. People die on this little bend. And I go, oh, fuck. So I've been seeing dead people here in this corner right before they died. It's kind of fucking weird. Ghosts. So anyway, I've heard it all. I've seen dead people, and I've seen weird monster thingies and all kinds of stuff. So nobody could pull wool and like, oh, okay. No, I've been there. I saw that. And then I saw, yeah, I believe you. Do you? Yeah, I actually believe you. I know you saw that. So anyway, that's my take on the whole thing. You can't make us upset when you talk about the weirdest shit. I'm like, yeah, okay, I believe that. No, actually, I saw. Yeah, I know what you saw. I believe you. Believe me. I probably saw the same damn thing. I saw an actual asparagus dark entity stick figure monster. They call it the stick figure giant thingy. I actually saw that, and I had that in my dream. And everyone says that's a kid's thing, kid's nightmare. I go, no, I had the tall, dark, long-legged stick figure thingy in my dream, and it chased me through the town, and then it chased me into a church area, and I'm like, it really happened. So when people say, I've had these dreams of the stick figure monster, no, mine looked like asparagus. What did yours look like? I believe you. Anyway, sorry to hog this up real quick.
What do you got coming up, Rob?
Anyway, like what Tex was saying, yeah, the channel with the rebrand will be Texas Front Porch, but we have the two shows, which is Texas Front Porch, which is 6:30 Central with him and Jason McLean. Brunch with Bigfoot, that's all remaining the same. It's me and Tex. Tomorrow on Brunch with Bigfoot at noon Central, we have Ron Moorhead, as I said. And again, on Brunch with Bigfoot, we've got tons of great guests. Like I said, from amateurs to so-called professionals that we've had MK Davis, a lot of great people. Both shows have had great guests. Me, myself, I guess I'm branching out too. I'm starting my own channel. I have a channel called Bigfoot Michigan Rob. Now I only got like 400 subscribers. And what I do on that channel currently is I just do the advertising for Texas Front Porch. And I put out a couple snippets on, I'll do a show where I'll read an article on UFOs and I'll give my take. But the reason I like to build my base up is because in spring of 2022, Bigfoot Michigan Rob is to be known as Beyond BMR. What that is a spinoff on Bigfoot Michigan Rob, Beyond Bigfoot Michigan Rob, which is going to talk more about things outside of cryptids. Cryptids will always be my base, and we will discuss that. But we're going to talk time travel. We're going to talk mysteries, murder mysteries. We're going to talk true crime, conspiracy theories, everything except politics. So it's going to be a nice variety, a mix. That's coming in spring, Beyond BMR. And we're going to cross-reference, and our channels are going to cross each other. So I might have Tex come on my show and vice versa. So we're still going to be like one umbrella. We're going to be our goal is to be a big enterprise and bring in people from all around. Yeah, that's right, man.
That's what
you got to think. If you think big, if you shoot for conglomerate and you end up with mid-sized business, you did okay, right?
Well, Rob, that's kind of what we do here in a way. Bob has his own channel. Connor has his own channel. And when we do shows like this, we all kind of come together.
We get together.
That's
and
cool, yeah.
I do a breaking
I kind of
news.
noticed that. Yeah, I noticed that.
I do a breaking news, and sometimes Connor jumps on. Bob jumps on sometimes.
Yep.
And we talk, of course, this channel, we talk everything. Mermaids, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk it.
We talked mermaids last week. Yeah.
See?
Merman. I said, what's a mermaid if it's a man? They said, duh, it's a merman. I said, well, I didn't know.
It's like
now we know it's a dolphin that became a dog-like creature.
Right.
In fact, so now that we know that werewolves were actually dolphins. We know that
you guys got to get ready for this question because Connor does 1,000 things all at once. So let's find out, Connor, what do you got coming up? You probably got 1,000 things.
Hey, before Connor starts, we gave him the floor when he was on my birthday show. Connor gave a good 15 minutes of real, man. That was all right, though. It was cool, though. I loved it, man. Anytime, brother. Go ahead.
Yeah, man. That was an awesome birthday present. A present, if it's one person's birthday, it's everybody's birthday when I'm involved. I take that joy, and I feel like I was, birthed and brought out. But I'm actually gearing up for some chill time right now. I'm going to cover at the work for like 2 weeks straight because one of my coworkers is getting his gallbladder taken out. I'm going to be doing a bunch of
Wait, stop for a second. Stop for a second. I'm gonna stop you. You're a gallbladder taken out. Okay, you know how many have on my paperwork people that I know are getting gallbladders taken out? I'm not joking, dude. A lot of people are all of a sudden getting gallbladders taken out. Huh? I'm not bullshitting you. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know what his deal is, but I have a bunch of stuff uploaded on my YouTube. I have a new premiere coming out tomorrow at 2:45, which is going to be awesome. The Falling Waters Hooded Sasquatch. It was a local encounter that happened with this woman and her dog were being stalked by some kind of hooded creature by the Sinkhole Forest over by Chipley. And it's a wild place. It's the tallest waterfall in Florida. It's 100 feet tall because it goes deep underground and there's tons of caves. I did like an hour and a half little mini documentary expedition with my mom. So it's really cool to bring her into the community and the field. Next month, I'm going to be part of the Bigfoot Odyssey 168 hours straight in the swamp with my bro Squatch in South Florida, Tim T in Florida, Winnette, BF Bud from Ohio, Johnny Two Bears, and then Chris Reinhardt from Discover Sasquatch. I'm just really excited for the future with everything. My book just came out on Amazon through Beyond the Fray Publishing. It's a new revamp of the original. It definitely looks and flows a lot better, and I'm really proud of it. Hopefully, I'll be knocking over R.L. Stine and J.K. Rowling on the top 10, man. But I'm just, enjoying every day out here.
Who are they? I don't know who they are. Who are those people? I don't fucking know them. I know you. Yeah.
But just today, I found I casted a footprint, what was awesome, on live on TikTok for like 1,500 people. So I'm all about bringing the community closer to it. All these TV shows are months behind production, and they say they found it in Oregon, but they filmed it over in Minnesota. Right. It's very weird. I'm bringing people closer to the truth, live and direct. So I'm very proud of that. And, it's, virtual. I love this, but I carry the same punch and energy at conferences, campouts, and on the expeditions. But I know when to be quiet. I know when to tap in. There's a balance of everything. But again, I'm all with the no BS. I'm so sick of the bullying in this community and the gatekeeping from virtual warriors. I ain't got no time for it. They say, oh, they're, being out in the woods doesn't bring you any closer. Yes, it does. What? You get such an awareness by being out there and an appreciation, and nothing against the disabled people that can't get out there. I'm sure they can, the sixth sense. Your body always thrives. If you can't walk, you'll thrive other ways through the mental. But if you can walk and you're still, souped up in your little chair, you can't expect your mind to go too far if you draw limitations. It's all in the mind. I'm all big for reach for the stars, aim for a conglomerate, and you end up with a small business. That's fine. So I'm going to write 100 books, and hopefully you guys read and buy 2 of them, So that's what we're going with. Follow me on TikTok. We just hit 56,000 followers. So that's monumental. We're almost to football stadium capacity. We're selling out, multiple basketball arenas at the same time, but we're going for Dallas Cowboys Stadium, baby. 82,000.
I like.
Well,
it's like Jeff said. Carter's chill time is still 50 times more active than the average human.
Yes. Well, I love this saying. You shoot for the moon, even if you miss, you're going to land among the stars.
Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. And then I should have a breaking news out tomorrow. The link's not up yet. After this show, I gotta go put my videos together and get it ready for tomorrow. So always busy. And I had a tarot reading last week from Gina Jade. She said a week and a half ago, in 2 weeks, you're going to meet your soulmate that's going to change your financial future. So I got 3 days left to meet my somehow financial soulmate. So, so I don't know, Bob. That's what she said. She did a reading.
That'll be breaking news, man. That'll be a good one.
You might have already met him.
She said in 2 weeks. Gina J said in 2 weeks. I got 3 days left for 2 weeks to end. So I'm waiting. I'm looking for that person. Maybe it's a news channel.
I'm going to wait for that. Eric's going to text me, dude, I've got my financial soulmate just showed up. No.
We had a Disney Plus show. We had a Disney Plus, Discovery Plus show. Not a Disney. But
I'm looking forward to buying one of Connor's books, man, because we're like, if we have a whole paranormal group in a forest and this weird ass creature shows up, I'm like, I don't fucking hold on. Get one of Connor's books out. Hold on. It's got wings. It's about 17 feet tall. Check genitals. Okay, it's got a human's genitals. That makes it a demon of something. According to
if you want to talk about kaiju and creature genitals, watch Zillafoot. It's free on Amazon Prime. It is so bad, it's good. Don't blame me for wasting your hour 20.
Beyond that, I want to thank Tex and Ross for coming on here. That's fantastic. Thank you guys so much for coming on here. And then we're going to end this show right now. And I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. That was awesome. It was great fun. And we got to have a part 2. We didn't even really touch the surface of UFOs.
And Otterman.
So we got a lot to talk about. So beyond that, guys, I want to say good night to everybody and see you tomorrow on the breaking news.
Right.